Every crazy war operation. 1943. The Allies are preparing to invade Sicily, their first major push onto the European continent. The Germans know it. Everyone knows it. Sicily is the obvious next target, and German command is already fortifying its defenses there. The problem, how do you make the enemy look the other way? Britain's solution? Plant a corpse. No, seriously, an actual human body. Operation Mincemeat. MI5 finds the body of Glinder Michael, a homeless Welshman who died from rat poison, and transforms him into a fictional officer, Major William Martin, Royal Marines. They build him a complete identity, service number, rank, assignment. They slip a photo of his fiancée into his pocket. Actually an MI5 employee. Handwritten love letters. A receipt for an engagement ring from a London jeweler. An expired HQ pass. A letter from his bank about an overdue balance. Because real officers have debt too. Choosing Glinder Michael wasn't random. Rat poison damages the lungs. At autopsy, it looks almost identical to drowning. German pathologists weren't supposed to question whether the man died at sea. The body was kept for months in a special container packed with dry ice while the entire cover story was built around it. And in the briefcase, handcuffed to Major Martin's wrist, fake top-secret letters between British generals, hinting between the lines that the real invasion would come through Greece and Sardinia. Sicily was just a decoy. The letters were written with deliberate slip-ups, exactly the way someone writes when they're afraid of a leak. They included inside jokes between generals, half-finished thoughts, references to earlier conversations. The kind of thing that's impossible to forge if you don't know the context. And every single detail was invented from scratch. The briefcase was attached to his wrist with a security cable and latch, designed to make the documents look like something a careful officer would never let go of, even in an emergency. This was meant to eliminate any suspicion from German counterintelligence. The man had held on to those papers until his last breath. The body is dressed in uniform and loaded onto the submarine HMS Seraph. April 30th, 1943, the coast of Huelva, Spain. Spain is officially neutral, but German intelligence operated there almost openly. The body is dropped into the sea, positioned to wash ashore, as if an officer had died in a plane crash over the water. Spanish fishermen found the body. Local authorities passed the documents along. German Abwehr intelligence received copies before they were returned to the British embassy. And here's the thing, the Spanish didn't know they were working for the British. They genuinely believed they were doing their German friends a favor. Berlin verified the details. Major Martin's identity checked out because the British had already added him to every official registry. An obituary in the Times, an entry in the military casualty records, a family notification for a family that didn't exist, but the registry didn't check. The documents passed forensic review, everything added up. Hitler personally ordered tank divisions redeployed to Greece. Rommel flew out to inspect Sardinia's defenses. Only one division was redirected to Sicily instead of the planned 5. When Allied forces landed on the island on July 9, 1943, they met half the resistance they'd expected. A campaign that could have dragged on for months was over in 38 days. And here's what's most striking. The plan didn't work because the documents were perfect. It worked because Hitler wanted confirmation of his own fears. And they gave it to him in exactly the form he was ready to believe. It's manipulation at the level of a Breaking Bad finale. The enemy convinced himself of exactly the conclusion you needed. Operation Thunderbolt, June 27, 1976. An Air France flight traveling from Tel Aviv through Athens to Paris is hijacked by terrorists. 248 passengers on board. The plane is forced to land in Entebbe, Uganda, under the protection of the local dictator, Idi Amin, who actively supported the hijackers and even personally came to chat with them. The terrorists release most of the passengers but keep roughly 105 hostages, primarily Israeli citizens and Jews. Their demand, release prisoners from Israeli jails. Deadline, 1 week. Israel was 2,500 miles from Uganda. It had no diplomatic relationship with the country. The Ugandan army was guarding the airport. Idi Amin was an unpredictable dictator with his own military, and yet Israeli command said, "We're going in." Operation Thunderbolt was planned in less than a week. 4 C-130 Hercules military transport planes, around 100 commandos from the elite Sayeret Matkal unit, and a plan built on a stack of assumptions and sheer audacity. Here's the wildest part. The Israelis knew Idi Amin drove a black Mercedes, the same kind used by many African leaders of the era. They got their hands on an identical Mercedes and several Ugandan military jeeps. The idea, when the planes land at night, the lead car drives onto the airfield, and the Ugandan guards assume it's Amin arriving for an inspection. A few seconds of hesitation, that's all they needed. They flew in at extremely low altitude over the Red Sea in Ethiopia to stay off radar, landed with their lights off. The car rolled in. A guard got suspicious a moment too soon and was neutralized. But those split seconds had already done the job. The entire operation took 90 minutes. All 102 surviving hostages were rescued. Israeli losses: 1 soldier. The commander of the operation, Lieutenant Colonel Yoni Netanyahu, a brother of the future Prime Minister of Israel. He was killed by a Ugandan guard's bullet at the foot of the plane. The only rescuer who didn't make it home. The world was stunned. It was so bold, so precise, so impossible that it inspired multiple films, dozens of books, and the operation is still studied in military academies around the world as the gold standard of counterterrorism. Admit it, it was cool, or just weird. Either way, you're still here. You know the rules. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment saying I'm a genius or a complete mess. See you in the next madness. Stay with me.